Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be making this Balkan classic, Tolumbe. A little time consuming, but definitely worth it in the end. So let's get started. To begin, I have my milk and my oil on my stove top, and I just want that to come up to a nice simmer. While that's getting ready, I'm going to take my measuring cup, a spoon, and my sifted flour. It's very important that your flour is sifted, and I'm going to spoon in the flour to my measuring cup. You don't want to scoop in the flour because the pressure compacts more flour into the measuring cup, and we don't want that. We want a nice fluffy amount of flour into our mixture. So after I've measured out my flour, the next thing I'm going to do is take my baking powder and I'm going to put it on top of my flour. Now I do recommend that you guys use packets like this because it is much more fresh. This specific brand is the best when it comes to making Tolumbe. And I'm just going to put that on top of my flour, and then what I'm going to do is with my fingertips I'm just going to gently combine that all together. So you'll see the motions that I'm making in the video. That's what you should be doing. You don't want to mix this because you don't want to again add pressure to your flour. Now once that milk and that oil comes to a gentle simmer, we're going to add our flour. I think my mom told me that she gently adds it. I just added the whole thing at once, and you begin to mix. Now in the beginning you're probably going to get scared and say, oh my god, this isn't working, but it is. Take your time. Look at the motions that I'm making in the video. What you want to do is you want to mix, and then you're going to take the back of your wooden spoon and you're going to kind of pat it down, and you're going to make sure that all that flour and milk is combined together. It does take a lot of elbow grease, but it's worth it in the end. Just take your time. Like I said, I know in the beginning it's going to look scary and you're going to think that you messed something up, but you didn't. Go slow. And remember, once this cools down, you can just take your fingers and kind of mash it up all together so you get any lumps out. But again, take your time. Use a wooden spoon. Don't use a whisk because it's just going to get caught in the inside and we don't want that. And then you're going to let this cool down. Once I'm done mixing, I'm going to take my mixing bowl and I'm going to put this dough in the mixing bowl, cover it with a towel, and I'm going to let this cool down for about an hour until it's cooled. In the meantime, I'm going to make my simple syrup. Super easy. Sugar, water, 2 lemon peels. I'm going to let that come up to a boil, and then I'm going to cook it down for 15 to 20 minutes until thickened. One of the most important steps is making sure that your dough has completely cooled off before starting this step. You want to make sure that it's cool before you start adding your eggs. And what I do is I crack an egg into a bowl first, and then I put it into my mixture. You're going to add an egg one by one. Don't add the eggs all at once because it won't work like that. And you want to make sure you do it in the bowl first because you want to make sure that there's no eggshells into your mixture because it would be really hard to get out then. And once we've added them one by one, you're going to see that your dough has combined together. In the beginning, it doesn't look like it's coming together and you get worried, but trust me, in the end, once you put in all 6, it'll come together. I did notice that my dough was a little bit stickier, so what I did is I added a tablespoon of flour at the very end, and I wouldn't recommend adding any more because you don't want these to be too cakey. I just did a tablespoon and I thought that was enough. Alright, so the next thing that I want to talk about is the piece that I'm using here. It's the traditional piece that you use to make Tolumbe. I wasn't going to use this in the beginning. I actually ordered some pieces from Amazon. I ordered a silicone piping bag and a tip that resembled this one. The reason I don't like using this is because honestly it's a pain and it's a terrible invention. When you try to pump them out, you become sore. You're literally sore the next day. It's like you worked out. It's ridiculous. It's such an awkward shape. So I'll link down below what I'm going to use, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to dip that wooden piece in the oil, and then I'm going to start pressing them down. Now the oil, this is like the most important part. The oil has to be like baby bottle warm. So you can touch the oil and you're not going to get burned. You just turned on the oven. I mean, guys, if you're going to follow anything in this recipe, make sure you follow that one rule of making sure that that oil isn't hot. So what I did is I turned on my oven to medium low, and I'm going to start by cutting these Tolumbe in there. I dipped my scissors in the oil too, and then I just cut them. Now, another thing that I hate about the traditional piece that you use to make these is that when you press them in, they kind of curve, and I want nice straight Tolumbe. And I feel like when you're using this, because it's such a pain to hold, you can't really get that. So that's another reason that I hate this thing. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, the first time you make them, the first batch that you make, you're gonna be like, what am I doing? These aren't coming out right. But trust me, practice makes perfect. Don't give up. I think I perfected these within like the third time that I actually made them. You also don't want to overcrowd your pan, and another thing that I actually messed up on is I didn't add enough oil to my pan, you guys. I ran out of oil. I couldn't go to the store, so please, if you're going to do anything, make sure you add enough oil to the pan so that these can flip over by themselves. Alright, so here I'm just assisting my Tolumbe. I'm helping them flip over so that they can get brown on the other side. You guys will take notice that my ridges aren't as clean, and it's because of my piping tip. So if you're going to use this specific device, make sure that your piping tip, that the teeth are nice and separated out. If not, then your ridges are going to come out like mine. You guys can see that they're really disformed, and you don't want that. You want them to be nice and beautiful. Again, that's why I like using a piping tip and a piping bag over the Tolumbe. You're going to fry these up until beautiful and golden brown. We're looking for a nice rich golden color on the Tolumbe. You're going to then take them out of the oil. You're going to set them to the side and let them just hang out. You're going to turn off your oil, and you're going to let it come back to that warm consistency that we talked about in the beginning. This is my second batch here after I've let the oil cool down. That is, again, the key to making these fluffy and nice. And make sure you don't overcrowd the pan. I did overcrowd it in this video, in this batch, and you definitely don't want to do that because they don't have a lot of room to fluff up. Here you guys can see them on the drying rack, just hanging out, cooling down. You want to make sure you don't put them in the simple syrup hot, because then they'll shrivel up like raisins, and we definitely do not want that. So here they've cooled down completely. My simple syrup has cooled down completely. I'm just dunking them into the simple syrup, and then I'm putting them in my container. Once I'm done dunking all of them in, I'm then going to take all of that remaining simple syrup and put the simple syrup on top of the Tolumbe. And what I do is I make sure every 2 hours or hour and a half, I flip them over to the opposite side. And that's just making sure that there's an equal distribution of the simple syrup in the Tolumbe, and so that moisture gets into the Tolumbe much faster. If you're going to serve these right away, then dunk them into the simple syrup and just leave them there. Let them sit in the simple syrup for like a minute or so if you're going to be serving these immediately after making them. And there you have it, you guys. Tolumbe are all done, ready to go, ready to serve to my family. I hope you enjoyed this video. It is a little complicated, but trust me, it is one of those recipes that is so worth it. I haven't met someone that doesn't like Tolumbe yet, and I'm sure that your family will love them too. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, add me on Instagram, and I will see you guys next time.